Welcome, welcome, welcome to another video. This one is on a very special topic. So excited to be here with Elizabeth Yos, who's on the Big Island of Hawaii. We've had the pleasure of connecting with each other in person in years past. Been a little while. We've mostly been on Zoom lately, I think, but one of these days I'm getting back there. And we were in a Venus Alchemy class earlier this week and talking about Pono, a Hawaiian tradition that Liz is going to share a little bit more about with us in a moment. But one of the things we recognized in that people were talking about it, and so many people were having an experience of it, like it was up for them already before we even brought it up in the class, and then the idea that there's many, many different ways of connecting into this ancient tradition. And so Elizabeth has a way that is she's going to share with us. I'm very excited that she's going to share with us about, and that whatever, and again, just whatever works. So hopefully this is something that will inspire you, that will maybe support you. And if you have a practice or you want to start a practice, this will help you with that. So Elizabeth, share with us what you have to say about Ho'oponopono.
Hey. Yeah, aloha everyone. First off, I just need to say I'm not Elizabeth Yos anymore. That was a previous existence.
Oh, I saw
I am back to my maiden
you.
name. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I need to
Uh,
update my database.
okay. Just make that clear. So Elizabeth Thomas, which is my original, that's my maiden name. And funny enough, Thomas means twins, and I'm a triple Gemini. So that works.
But
I guess,
yes.
yeah, make it obvious, make the signs obvious. Okay. So yay, I would not without the invitation be here because I'd rather be off camera. I feel like it's one of those breaking through a fear. Oh, okay. I'm gonna share this first before we even get to the whole Ho'oponopono. And here, Kaylin's been to Puna. I saw a car today. We have bumper stickers, but this one had these words emblazoned, painted on the side of the car. Courage is fear that has said its prayer.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that perfect?
Oh, courage is fear that has said its prayer. Oh, that's so good. I'm just having rushes of energy.
All right.
And I'll just fill in really quickly. One of the things we talked about at this time as we're going towards an eclipse and the Aries energy and so much is happening and Chiron and Aries to heal all those wounds. It is about having the courage to face our fear. So thank you for being willing to do that, Elizabeth.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to say is those words kupuna engineered. I feel like it was definitely kupuna engineered, which means kupuna is the ancestors in Hawaiian. And, they're up there like doing their best to help support and guide us every moment of every day. And sometimes we're listening and sometimes we're not. But I couldn't ignore the synchronicity of in the larger Venus Alchemy group, people sharing about their experience with Ho'oponopono, primarily as the forgiveness, um, the act of forgiveness, really, and coming back into balance and harmony. Um, and as people were sharing in the larger group, I was getting the message that, that a little tap on the shoulder of like maybe I needed to share the form of Ho'oponopono that was shared with me, which is just as there's many different astrological schools. This all I can share is what my experience was and the way that my kumu, my teacher, shared it with me, which was a different version, just a different perspective. Not that one is right and the other one's wrong. It's like they're all good. They're all good. So uh, one of the things that she would say is when you break down the word ho'o, pono, pono, there's a Hawaiian word heva, which can mean wrong. She'd say there's no heva in ho'oponopono. So the forms of Ho'oponopono that have been most in the public eye, um, when I started studying with her, was conflict resolution was a way that it was presented. So something had happened and the family or the community needed to right that wrong, right? So her, but she's like, where do you see the heva in that word? There is none, you know? So ho'o is an activator. It means to make. So you've got ho'o, make, to make, pono, and pono is right or righteousness, or it's really speaks to being in alignment with one's true identity as spirit greatness, or uhane nui. And then what comes after the ho'opono is another pono. So it's making what's already right more right. There's no righting the wrongs in that, you know. And she had a very high perspective on things, and she was very much a of the awareness that we are constantly co-creating with uh, great mystery. She didn't use the word great mystery, but our Uhane Nui, an image and likeness of God, she would say. We are co-creators. And so the thing about the Ho'oponopono bringing us into alignment was more about, are my thoughts, my mana'o, my thoughts and intellect in alignment with the truth of who I am, which is Uhane Nui, spirit greatness, you know, a spark of the divine. And this is what was really speaking to me about the Leo meta goddess. And the essence of that sign of Leo is like knowing that we are that divine spark. So are my thoughts in alignment with that? And if they're not, maybe I can reel them back in to come into alignment with my Uhane Nui, my spirit greatness, who the light of who I truly am. Is my pu'uvai, my heart, my pu'uvai mele, my heart song, is that singing a song in alignment with my uhane nui, my spirit greatness, or not? You know, and are these two keiki, she would call them? Did this one start generating some fearful thoughts, or you know, negativity or judgments or criticism, and this one jumped on the bandwagon with fear and like rah, and she'd talk about it as like, this is our canoe, our pono canoe, we're paddling our pono canoe. um and then when they get all out of whack like that, it's like, oh, the canoe huli maka flip. Like we're in the water, we're flailing around, and we're out of pono, and we're not in touch with our uhane nui. So, and then the third center, if you will, is the na'au, which is the gut center. And our uhane, our spirit, needs our body in order to fulfill its purpose here in this lifetime. So, really, she would talk about that center, that you know, the physical center, the na'au, and the gut being so important that we could make those gut decisions. Because the body needs to, the uhane needs a vehicle for this. Otherwise, you know, like, um, I don't know why I can't finish that sentence, but it's like, it just seems so obvious. Um, so making decisions from the gut, which knows, versus you know, the mind, which has a thought over here one moment or there or whatever, and even the heart, you know, if the heart is not singing from the truth of who we are, then it's you know, it might be singing a different song that would take us out of alignment, and we might take actions from a different place. So that was her primary sort of delivery of the Ho'oponopono. And there is history to it of, you know, I should mention her name. Names are important uh in she would obviously, I can hear her voice right now, in our Hawaiian way, is what she would say. And I want to say it's a very sensitive subject for me. I was born in England. I'm of a colonial ancestry, right? The colonization and the appropriation of cultures, including the Hawaiian culture, is a real big, it's part of what the current popularity with Ho'oponopono is about. There have been massive um, massive ways that we have operated that are out of alignment with our Uhane Nui, right? And this is um, events happening where one culture imposes on another, and doesn't recognize that you're an Uhane Nui too. I am, but so are you. You're an independent, sovereign being, and I honor and respect that. So that's to go to say, I'm not of Hawaiian descent. I can't speak to this is the Hawaiian way and this is what the Hawaiians think or believe, or, you know, all I can share is how it was shared with me. And within her lineage, so Aunty Mahealani Kuamo'o Henry, her ancestor, I believe it was 7, maybe 8 generations up, was Ka'iwi Kuamo'o Ke Kalani, the backbone strength of the heavenly chiefs. And in Hawaiian, the name contains the kuleana, or the kiakahi, the purpose. It's in the name. And talking of language, she would say the language is kupuna engineered. So every time, I loved what Meredith said about the ho'oponopono. Her practice, she's just saying it over and over and over. Ho'oponopono, ho'oponopono. And the kupuna engineering part is, it's in the power is in the words. It just in the saying of it is activating that to come into alignment with your Uhane Nui, your spirit greatness, your spirit self. And historically, so Aunty's lineage was at the time of the Christian wave and takeover, they were the keepers, of the spiritual wisdom. And so this was a new wave coming in, occupying what had happened before, the beliefs and the practices of the people. And so there's a very personal having to come to terms with this new wave, with this change, and adaptation to and realignment with, such that your perspective ultimately is not like, is no longer around the wounding of this was a violation and this was wrong. It's not to deny that, but it's that ultimately there is a process of healing and making right that brings us around to seeing it from a new perspective, that okay, it was time for this to happen, and this happened, and then through this happening, something else comes of it in the end. And it's a very sort of hands off, bigger picture perspective. um, so it's not to deny any woundings, it's not to deny any hurts, any pains, but it's just to say ultimately we are responsible for and co-creators of our own reality. And when we set the intention to realign with our Uhane Nui, then, bottom line, that's it. It's actually very simple. I make it sound very complicated, but it's really, really simple
I
at
I
heart.
I don't think you're making it sound complicated, but I love that you're giving us the background. And also, as you're speaking, what I'm really feeling into, especially now with Chiron in Aries, it's going to be exact within the eclipse coming up. It's going to be exact on the USA chart up into next year. Chiron return. And so Chiron also been with the North Node, and there was an exact conjunction that happened a couple months ago, but it's still really close. And so and Chiron is all about how do we heal the wounds of the past so they become our strength, they become our medicine. And this really sounds to me like what you're describing is that this practice of a Ho'oponopono is, yes, thank you, is helping, is a way to do that. It's a tool, it's a practice, it has an intention around doing that. So we don't want to be defined by our wounds. We don't want to be acting from our wounds and having that define our life, because that's not necessarily helpful. Playing the victim, or being angry, or, all of those things can have its place as we're going through the healing process. But the intent is to get past it, back into that alignment point that you were speaking of. So the timing on this is just stellar. but loving it so much. And as Elizabeth was talking about the Venus cycle, she's going into the underworld. She's making her conjunction with the moon right before the eclipse, and then she's pretty much for a lot of places. I can't haven't seen her for weeks now, but we've had a lot of rain too. But she's just disappearing from the morning sky, and she'll be in the underworld with the sun, with the source of light and life for our planet, and going through a death and rebirth and coming out the other side and rising back up. So what better time is there for us to begin to tune in, and how do we do that practice of coming back into right relationship with ourselves? And that can involve forgiveness. So I can see how the forgiveness piece of that has been a part of it. And that's what when I learned Ho'oponopono years ago, it was all about the forgiveness piece of it that I learned. And and that's been useful and valuable to me, but I also love this additional insight and information that I wasn't aware of. So really thank you for sharing that, and wondering if you have any last thoughts you want to uh, say before we wrap this up.
The thing that comes to mind is that, I have a practice. Venus now in Aries, just do something. And so the practice that Auntie used to give us was Aloha Uhane. And she literally would take like a lipstick and write it on the mirror on the bathroom mirror, so that whenever you look into that mirror, you're brushing your teeth, whatever you're doing, you have the words Aloha Uhane right there to remind you, and to look into your eyes, the windows of the soul, and speak to and say Aloha Uhane. So you're connecting with that spirit greatness. You're bypassing all the flaws and imperfections, and you're just going direct to that essential self. And the thing that came to me was actually to draw because every time you show slides of the lioness, there's several where there's a little child, a little girl, and a lion or a lioness, and they're looking at each other. And it's like looking in the mirror, seeing who we really are, and drawing that out, um, through that connection. So Aloha Uhane every day. Um, yeah.
Oh, I love that. And that then, and looking into our own eyes and into our own soul and into our own being, and then making that statement. I love that. Sounds like such a simple and also powerful practice. So another thought that occurs to me is that maybe you can send me how you write those words, and I'll put them in the show notes. So, and with the definition, so that people, because I hear them and I hear what you're saying, but I don't think I'm going to remember. But if it's in the show notes, people can go and look at it. And then also the words for the practice, aloha something.
Uhane, yeah.
Ohane,
Uhane,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so that too, and that'll be in the show notes also, to help people who choose to do this. If it feels aligned for you, if you feels like this is something that would help support you at this time, uh, anytime you might be listening to this, it doesn't matter what's going on in the greater astrological mysteries. This is soul work. This is the work we do to help bring our soul back into alignment with our true self, as you stated, which is so beautiful. So, yay,
Yay.
yay. Anyways, okay, so be sure to check out the show notes, and to also maybe watch this more than once, because I feel like for me, I have to hear it more than one time for sure. So, yeah, right. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. This has been awesome. Bye, everybody.